like today I posted because it seems like May they put all kind of awareness agendas on different months and it's a good thing. So I'm part of a nonprofit. Um, so May is like Foster Care Awareness Month. May is also Mental Health Awareness Month, but
Mhm.
also Masturbation Month. And so I posted that to try to get people's response. And, some people responded, but it's still somewhat, I think, for our age group, something that some people are comfortable with talking about out loud, but then other people are like, when you're in your 50s, early 60s or whatever, I
Mhm.
it goes back to, and you let me know if I'm right or not, it goes back to what you talked about, the shame that a lot of women receive from other women and maybe from the church, where they won't openly talk about, masturbation as if it's a bad thing. What do you think?
Yeah, not just other women, men and women have put shame on women in the past. But I agree with you. I do think that that has a part to do with it. It has actually hasn't been until who was the Surgeon General years ago. She
What I know is Sierra Cooper. I know there was a black surgeon general, and I should know her name,
yeah.
but I forget.
Yeah. I can't remember her name either, which is a shame. I feel like I should know it. If I hear it, I'm like, yes, that's her, but I can't think of it offhand. But she was the first person that I think talked about masturbation publicly and like as like a health thing. Like people should be doing this. And I remember she got a lot of flack for that. And she was older than us because she was what we would have considered old when
Oh,
she was in.
so there was two black women. The
Okay,
Jocelyn Elders, she was Surgeon General for a year under Clinton, and then there was Dr. Regina Benjamin.
I think it was Jocelyn Elders.
So that was back in 93, 94. So
Yeah. She was the first person I remember speaking about it publicly and getting ridiculed about it, and other people being like, "No, we shouldn't be telling kids about this." That's what the thing was. We shouldn't be telling kids about that. And I was in high school at the time, so I was considered a kid, And so our generation, I think, is leading that, but it's still a lot of shame connected to that, for us.
yeah, even I mean for guys, I don't think it's like shame. It's more about being teased. And I think
Hmm.
guys are more open about it than women are. And that's just my, assumption. Because, the joke about guys is like, you're gonna get hairy palms or you're gonna go blind, shit like that or whatever. But I haven't seen men shamed about it. And even when you talked about it's not just women, it's men who have shamed women as well. I never got that. I never got that. Now, there were times when I was with somebody and I did feel a little bit inadequate because she pulled out a big ass thing and started going to work. And I was just like, well, damn, I thought you liked what I do. But how she was like, it's totally different, bro. But for a while then, I was just kind of, like, "God damn, girl, for real." But I just don't think dudes carry the same stigma. I don't think it carries the same stigma for guys as it does for women, and I don't think that's cool.
Yeah, not at all. But if we want to go back to the Bible, I you know, over the years when I was younger, people used to always bring this scripture out um to talk against the masturbation. And I should be going into biblical stuff because I'm not a biblical scholar, but I'm gonna say it anyway. It's a scripture about spilling seed,
Yeah.
and that was usually the scripture people talked about when they saying you shouldn't masturbate or that the Bible talks against masturbation. But that scripture I've learned over the years is not actually talking about masturbation. It's talking about the tradition that the people had back then about um, a husband dying and then his widow not having children. It would fall onto the responsibility of the next kin in line, which is crazy, but that's what it was. That's what it was talking about. So it was saying instead of the guy ejaculating into her, he would ejaculate on the floor. That was what was wrong. So, and then there's no scripture to coincide with the women for masturbation. So it's like if masturbation is wrong, is a sin, it seemed like it would be a scripture for both and not just one, you know.
Yeah, I think it, and I'm definitely not a biblical scholar at all, but I think you have to look at what it meant during the time
Hmm.
and not trying to fit it to what it means today to us, our interpretation now, especially when it comes to things like that. So um Darius said I was going to comment on the masturbation post, but I was masturbating. Too much information. We did not need to know that, not at all. But going back to you talk about men shaming women, um, I've talked to some women and they said that guys had an issue with them masturbating. And I always looked at it as an enhancer. Like I wouldn't mind watching you do it. I wouldn't mind you doing it while we are doing our thing. I've never really been, other than the one situation that I talked about, it's never been something that has made me feel some type of way at all. Because honestly, it's like, well, it's not like she's cheating. She's doing her thing, and it's whatever. Now, if that's the only thing she is doing and it's taken away from her desire to interact with me, then I can see it becoming problematic, right? And I think people normally talk about that with men, but I can assume, or I would assume that women could fall into that trap as well. But I know for me and for guys, before I let you jump in, sometimes you can get into the trap of masturbating too much, and it does start to impact the quality of the sex that you have.
Yeah. I haven't run into any guys that I've been intimate with who've had a problem with me pleasuring myself. I don't know why that's embarrassing to say, but it is.
Does that make you nervous, Tay, saying that?
A little bit, a little bit.
All the shit that you talk about on this show, that makes you nervous.
But you know what's
There,
crazy?
there's that historical shame.
Historical shame, but not just that. Me personally, I when it comes to in the bedroom, I'm like a no holds barred. I don't have many. I do have some red lights, but I don't have many red lights that I'm not willing to cross. But it's always been like people. There have been guys who like to watch women pleasure themselves. That always makes me nervous. So I think that's why just talking about it just now, just I was like, oh gosh, like hide my face. But
You don't like being the center of attention like that.
yeah, yeah. Even though, which is funny, I grew up performing on stages and choirs on acting, all that stuff. But when the attention is solely focused on me, I do have a like, hey, I don't like this thing going on. But
It's different on being on stage. You can kind of zone out and not see the crowd, and you got on clothes, and you're not, vulnerable. So there's a difference to that. One of
yeah,
the one of the people said, as a guy, he said, "It has kept me from making some bad decisions. Never good to go grocery shopping on an empty stomach."
I hear people say that, but it's never stopped me from making bad decisions because if I want something, I want it. So
There's this chick that we used to fool around. We were friends. And I can't even call it friends with benefits because we never had sex. But we would definitely like fool around. Well, what's my favorite term? Heavy petting. We would do we would do a lot of heavy petting, right? And like make
mhm.
out and everything. And I remember she's notorious for being late. But this time she was like super late, like I was about to bounce. And we were talking, and she was like, "Yeah, I had to get one off before I came and saw you." And I said, "What?" She was like, "I had to get a nut off before I came and saw you." Which, sidebar, I don't like when women say nut. You know what I'm saying? That's something dudes do. That's just my personal thing, but whatever. But she said, "Yeah, I had to get it off because I knew if I didn't, we would probably go all the way. We'd be fucking." And I was like, "Well, damn, what's wrong with that?" She was like, "Nah, we friends. Yeah, we fool around, but I'm not ready for all that." And I was just like, that was the first time I've ever heard a woman tell me that she had to go ahead and handle that so that way she would have more clarity when she was around me.
That never worked. I've tried that. That never worked for me.
You tried it?
That's what I was saying. I've tried that before. Like when I want something, I want it. So typically, if I don't want to go to that point with a guy, then I'm gonna have to do something else to keep from doing that. I'm masturbating is not gonna keep me from it.
Like what?
Like setting boundaries of like I'm leaving by a certain time if things are getting too hot and heavy, leaving or just not going out, just stuff like that.
Hmm. So, do you have you ever been with a partner who liked masturbating, and did it ever become an issue?
It's never become an issue that I could tell anyway.
You cool with it, so he can do it as much
Yeah,
as he wants.
yeah. Yeah, my thing is as long as whatever you're doing does not affect our situation and what we got going on, hey, do what you gotta do.
Hmm. Sorry, so some of the listeners have some comments. One of them said, unless you're in a long distance relationship, military or ill, why are you doing that? Um, I would say that sometimes, man, you just kind of, you know, don't want to go through all the things that sex entails, right? Because, so say I'm in a relationship with somebody, and then I have to bank on her being in the mood as well. Bank on, then I gotta, if I'm feeling lazy, then I gotta, get her involved, get her aroused, do all the different things. And sometimes you just want to rub one out and go to sleep.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, and I don't think that that changes just because you were in a relationship. Sometimes you just want to rub one out and go to sleep.
Yeah, I can agree with that because I've always said I with a toy with a strong vibration, I can get there like that. And sometimes
So that Hitachi wine.
I mean
This is
yeah, so I
crazy.
mean so sometimes you may not have time to, like you said, do everything that and you know me, I like a marathon session. But sometimes you don't have time for a marathon session. So, you know.
There's this one, and I've known a couple women that have used that Hitachi wine. And there was this one girl on Instagram. She's funny. It's a black girl. She kind of sings like punk rock or whatever. And she talks about different, sex and all that stuff. And she said, look, I want all the watts. And she said she pulled out that Hitachi wine and she said she thought it broke her shit because she became desensitized. She couldn't feel nothing. And she said she finally went to the doctor. And she said it's funny, I lied and told him I was riding my bike and I fell and hit the bar. But they said that more than likely she just kind of injured a nerve in her clitoris, and that's what the deal was. But
Yeah.
I think, and you tell me, I don't know, maybe women maybe women can become desensitized like that. I know for guys, the issue is you start to train your body to respond to your hand. And the positive is you last longer in the bed, but the drawback is your partner may start to feel some type of way if they can't get you there.
Yeah. I do know that there are women who can become desensitized. If you use it too much, you can kind of hurt some nerve endings. But I do believe that if you stay off of it for a little while, the nerve endings will come back. But